Hello, and thank you for joining me here on Sew Stitch Hex. Today we're going to be talking about inner temples. So what is the inner temple? This varies from many witches, and you can even research through like the inner temple with Christopher Penczak, or you can watch this video. But the inner temple, I believe, varies from person to person, and I've heard so many different iterations that it's hard to pinpoint one to discuss apart from my own, because my own is the one I understand the best. So my inner temple is something I normally don't see, because in my head when I have visions I see it kind of like a bat sees things, where it's the sound reverberating off of it, giving me the vibration and the image of what it would look like, but I don't physically see it. I don't have that sight. The only time I see it is when flame is introduced into a dream or vision. That's the only time I physically see things with color and other things. One example was when my apartment burned down. Just before it did, I was a princess of night, and I caught on fire after all of my people caught on fire, and the only thing I could see was darkness and flame, and the flame was where I could see bodies, and that's where that was. In this instance of an inner temple, I normally feel it, so I know that it's pristine wood. It feels like it's probably oak. I see it as a dark brown in my mind because I think that's what it would be. It feels polished, it feels pretty and like perfect. It's very simple. It is slightly elevated on a small slab. It is both just small enough for me to sit and also wide enough that I can run. It is both because it is in my mind. It has flowers that could be lilies all over it, and ivy. And I hear the buzzing of dragonflies wherever it is. And it resides in a realm that the ground is pitch black. There is no light except for the horizon, which is one solid color of yellow. That could be, it could be sunrise, it could be sunset, it's both, but neither, because there is no sun. There is no source of light, it is just light. Kind of like MS Paint, black, yellow, that's all you did. The only time there is something introduced into the space that is defining is when there is a deity welcomed into the space. Specifically, the one time that I've really had definition and able to see other than what I feel and what I know is the time that I let Hesia into my space, and there she was the light. She was a flame that walked in, and I felt the warmth of her presence, and I could see this space that I'd never seen before, but only felt and knew the presence of. What can you do in your temple? In your temple, you can meditate, and really it's your imagination that holds you back. You can do anything. If you decide you wish to fly, you fly. If you want to live 100 years and have an imaginary life, you live that life. It is your space to do with as you will. You can practice inside your temple because your temple is not bound by the constraints of time. It is not bound by the constraints of physics, nor is it bound by social normalities. You can dress as you would. You can be someone else. You can be a cat. You can remove all clothing and just be sky-clad, because it doesn't really, does it count as sky-clad or is it mind-clad because you're in your head? Anyway, you can do anything you want in this temple. I have taken my temple as a place for privacy, and if I'm in a space where it is not necessarily safe or comfortable to reveal my emotions, I have taken my inner temple to cry. It is a quiet place that is safe from onlookers and from anyone, and it is a place that I can be myself and not worry about others. It is a place where you are free to do whatever you want, and if that is just to be safe and to release emotion, then that's what you can do. And I found my temple was a great place for that in many instances, because sometimes you don't want people to comment, you just want to exist, you just want to emote and not have to explain yourself or defend yourself or calm someone else down. Your inner temple is a place of beauty And you can approach it in many ways. So one of the ways that my priest has done is he introduces this elevator. And you start on the first floor. And he talks about how you slow your breathing, you go into a regular meditation, and you go down to the second floor. And you continue to go deeper and deeper into this state of meditation until you reach the bottom. I usually turn away from the elevator when he starts this meditation. I don't like the elevator. It's very distracting. It's full of buttons. I want to hit all the buttons because there's not a guy regulating whether or not I can hit all the buttons, so I will hit all the buttons. I turn away from the elevator, and apart from the elevator is a labyrinth. And I haven't done all the research, and I will do a video on it because I have books on it. I haven't got to read yet. On the meditation of the labyrinth and the use of the labyrinth. And I know you can walk through the labyrinth and follow its paths for the purposes of meditation. But for me, I use it as a way to go deeper into my mind. I turn to the leaves, which are almost glowing, and they help lead me into the darkness. I follow the labyrinth, and I go deeper and deeper. And as I go deeper and deeper into the hedge, they get wider and the path gets smaller. It gets less trimmed. It gets more wild and unruly until eventually I'm not just touching the ivy and the leaves as I walk by. I am suddenly in almost like a forest because it is the center of the labyrinth. It is 10 floors down. It is as deep as you can go. And there, as the trees open, in an empty area is my inner temple. And that's kind of how I approach it and how I use it. Let me know in the comments below what your temple looks like. Have you seen it? Have you tried? What have you read about temples? And what are some things that you do in your temple? Alright, thank you for joining me here on So Stitch Hex. I hope to see you next time. Bye!